Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. I have today with me Bill William, whose career spans journalism, broadcasting, and communications, from working as a photographer and a writer while earning his degree at Texas Tech to directing instructional television, running a media consulting firm in Washington, D.C., and serving as FEMA's first director of news and information during major events like the Three Mile Island crisis and the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Now he's turned his decades of experience and wit into a book series, 20 years of internet humor, and some other interesting things based on years of sharing his daily thought of the day online. So great. So nice to have you here on the podcast. And it's fun to have a fellow journalist as well. And so I'm curious, Will. So you pivot from journalism to a completely different topic, which is humor. How did that happen?
Well, it was basically I've had a bunch of things in addition to journalism. Like you said, I started at a newspaper, but I've written for motion pictures and television. I was a member of the Writers Guild, the whole bit. When the technology came in and changed film and TV to make it all digital, I decided I'm too old for learn something new like that. So I changed careers and became a financial advisor. And I was managing a batch of sales folks in the Midwest back in the
Okay.
90s, and the email just came out. Everybody heard about email, but nobody used it. They didn't know what it was, what it could do. And my sales folks all had email, but they never read it. So I decided to send them a thought for the day, which was typically funny, humorous, inspirational, and it worked. They started reading their emails, and
Okay.
better yet, they started sharing some of these stories with their clients. It helped their sales a lot, that's for sure. And then the client said, "Hey, could we get on that list too?" I said, "Hey, there's no postage. Why not? We'll send it to anybody that wants it." And so now, 30 years later, I'm still sending out that thought for the day to anybody who would like to get it. And I've got people reading it all over the US. I've got people in Europe. I've got people in Asia. I've got people in Australia that are getting this thing. So that's where it originated with the humor. And then after, a couple years ago, when the discourse in this country started getting angry and upset and everybody's yelling at everybody else, I thought people need to laugh. And so maybe I can put some of this stuff into a book. And I took it to a publisher and they said, "This is not a book. This is a series of books. Probably have 10 or 12
Mm.
volumes here." And the
Oh,
first
wow.
volume came out the first of the year. So that's where it came from. And that's how it got started.
Wow. Congrats on publishing it. So can you give us an example of uh, a, a daily thought of the day? Like what do you actually talk about?
Well, basically, there's stories that people have sent in to me. And, one of the easier ones to think about was a story about a mother and her son, Jimmy. They'd been out shopping at the store. They came home, and Jennifer said when they got there, Jimmy ran into the kitchen with a bag of groceries and started taking things out and dug out a box of animal crackers, opened the box of animal crackers and started spreading them all over the kitchen table. They says, "Jimmy, what are you doing?" He said, "Mom, when we bought this box of crackers, it said if the seal is broken, don't eat them. So I'm looking for the seal."
That is funny. And where did you get this idea from?
Well, like I say, people send these things to me. I've got a whole file drawer full of stories that people have sent me, and I just try to edit them to where they're acceptable because many of them are, shall we say, a little touchy, and
Mm,
try to get them to for a general audience before I use them. And that's just one from
interesting.
something somebody sent me years ago.
So how many subscribers do you have to your newsletter?
Currently, I've got about 500. Okay.
Okay.
But I've had, many, many more that come and go and come and go because it's free and you can take it for a while and then somebody else that comes on. But on the other
So
hand, I've got people who've been with me all 30 years.
so how did these people find you? Because you started at your job, right? Like your colleagues. And how did you expand to hundreds of people reading this?
People would share it. They'd send it to somebody else and somebody would say, "Hey, can I get on it?" And sure, why not? And I haven't really been advertising it. It's just been word of mouth from people hearing about it. But now that the book is out, I'm starting to get more people signing up for it, going to my website and signing up for it. So
Hmm,
it's
that's fun.
just growing that way.
I mean, it's as you said, definitely highly needed, especially these days. So what was like kind of the most bizarre story that was sent to you, if you can think of something?
There have been so many, and I can't really think of Well, I can think of one thing that has definitely caused a lot of it's one of those things, men
Controversy?
love it and women hate it, okay?
Ah, okay, okay.
Okay, so I'll get off on the bad side of you to start with, but, this couple and their young son went to a wedding, and after the wedding, boy said to his mother, "Mom, why are the wedding dresses always white?" And she looked at him and said, "Son, that's to show everybody that the bride is pure." And he said thought to himself, "I'm gonna ask dad." He said, "Dad, why are wedding dresses always white?" And dad looked at him and said, "Son, don't you know all kitchen appliances come in white?"
So basically saying that she's gonna be in the kitchen, and you wonder why women did not like it. Man, that dad is in a lot of trouble.
But you're laughing, right? And
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
it's all about.
I have an open mind, so it's it's not. I mean, I'm the one who cooks around the house, but anyways, regardless. So, all right. So, I'm actually curious about your publishing journey, right? So, you decided to publish it as a book. Okay, so who gave you the idea? Did you come up with it, or someone suggested it? And how did you start? Did you get an agent, traditional publisher? How was your journey?
Well, my journey in that was yes, I've published hundreds of things over the last 60 years, but I'd never published a book. And
Okay.
everything I knew said, well, gee whiz, you need an agent. The agent needs to take it to a publisher, and you do that. So I spent 2 years looking for an agent, and I must have talked to and corresponded with over 100, and nobody
Mhm.
had any interest whatsoever. And
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend who'd published a number of books, and I said, Bert, how did you get an agent? They said, "Are you trying to get an agent? You don't want to do that." He said, "I've given up with agents." He said,
Interesting.
"The new thing is you gotta publish it yourself." And I said, "Vantage Press?" He said, "No, no, that's ancient history. But
Yeah.
now we have what are called hybrid publishers who
Okay.
will work with you, provide editorial services and everything, and then get it out." So I looked around and did a research on the hybrid publishers and picked one I thought would work out very well, and so far it has, Fulton Books in, Meadville, Pennsylvania. They've done a very good job editing the book and putting it together, and I really like the way it looks. And so we did that. And I'm convinced that that seems to be the way to go these days because I certainly didn't get an agent. On the other
Mm.
hand, now that the book's out, I have people pounding on my door and filling my email basket saying, "Why don't you do business with us now?" Oh, yeah.
What kind of business?
Let us publish your next book or let us represent you with the big publisher,
Oh, wow.
those
Wow.
kinds of things. Said, "Where were you
That
when I needed you?"
wow, and how did they find you, like, after you self-published? How did you promote your book to the degree that it attract agents and publishers?
Well, I have publicized it on Facebook, I've publicized it on LinkedIn and, a number of other places, but, basically just through my emails, and, what I have
Mm.
found is the fact that because it's on Amazon, Amazon gives all the information about the publisher and how to contact the author and all that sort of stuff, and I'm sure that's how most people are getting in touch with me, but I'd say I probably have 2 or 3, maybe a day contacting me about wanting to work with me.
Oh, wow. That must feel good. It's kind of like validates your work and that, you're so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna work with them or are you gonna stick with self-publishing?
Well, I'm happy with Fulton right now with, what they've done
Okay.
for me, and,
Okay.
they've done a very nice job in publicizing it. They put out a nice little, film that, they put on Instagram and, a number of the other
Mm.
social media, and I'm also working with, Steve Harrison and Jack Canfield, who did Chicken Soup for the Soul, has been a
Mm.
consultant with me and helping me get this thing going too.
Yeah, I actually spoke with another person right before you who used the same person as well to work on their book. So it's interesting. All right. So in terms of marketing, how was the book been selling and what do you think was your best marketing tactic that resulted in a high ROI?
That's a very good question, and I don't really have a good answer for you because it hasn't been out for a full quarter yet. The
Okay.
publishers only give reports on how you've actually done at the end of a quarter. So
Okay.
anything I know is basically what I've heard through the grapevine, so to speak. But I've been getting a
Okay.
lot of very good reviews, that are
Okay.
showing up on Amazon and Books A Million and Goodreads and things like that. Going out and making presentations. I've got a local library that I'm doing a book fair for, and I'll be out
Mm.
in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Book Fair in April. I'm selling the book on my own, you know, personally out representing myself and showing it to people in markets.
What are you doing to sell it besides going to events?
Basically, using promotion on my thought for the day thing. Every time I
Mm.
send something out with that, there's a little ad in that, you can sign up here, you can sign up there. But I am still in the learning stage
Mm.
because, as I mentioned, this is my first book, and I've never
Yeah.
had to sell a book before, and
Yeah.
trying things that work, and I'm sure I'm trying a bunch of things that aren't gonna work.
Are you paying for ads
I have
online?
not paid for any ads so far.
Okay. Okay.
But that
Just
doesn't mean I'm
curious.
going to, it's just one thing at a time, see what works.
Do you have your own publicist or you are your own publicist?
I am my own publicist
Okay.
because
Okay.
I'm still
Wow.
working as a financial advisor too, so it's not like I have nothing else to do.
I I saw you still working full time plus writing the book plus marketing. Oh wow.
Right.
You're busy. So when you wrote the book, did you just compile everything and did you actually have to add material? How was like the process of creating the book?
Well, when I first started creating the book, what I started doing was going back through the files and putting a whole stack of stories together. And then I thought to
Mm,
myself, how do I pick them out? And I said, well, let's just take it logically. I'll pick
mm,
some that start with A, some that start with B, some that start with C, and went through the alphabet and got
okay.
about close to 200 books or 200 articles for this first book. And it was
Okay.
just alphabetical. I got A through Z. And that's probably what I'll be doing in the future too, because it gives a good mix of things. And
Mm,
the
mm,
first book show has stories from 2005 up to 2023, and
huh.
it's a good mix, from a bunch of different contributors. And so there's a lot in there, and it covers everything out. Some things are historical, some things are patriotic, some things are just funny. But the actual book is 20 years of internet humor and other interesting things. So we've got the whole gamut covered there.
So what was the reaction to the book? Like you mentioned you got a lot of good reviews. What are they saying?
They are saying this is a great coffee table book. I can sit down and start it and, read it for 5 minutes and pick it up again, and I haven't missed a thing. And that's basically what it would be very good for is to sit next to your bed and, you read a couple stories and go to bed. And when you get up in the morning and read another couple stories and start the day with a smile.
Hmm.
That's what I tell people that, get my thought for the day because when you wake up in the morning, it'll be in your inbox and there's something to smile about.
So you mentioned that the publisher said that this is like not only one book but a series of book, right? So
Right.
are you working on a second book now? What are you doing? What is it?
Second book is ready to go.
Oh wow, you're
Actually,
fast.
the 3rd book is just about ready to go too. I'm just waiting to see how this works and see what changes I need to make in the second one because it's only been out for 2 months now. So,
Hmm.
I'm still listening to getting responses from people around the country.
So you have 200 stories per each book? How many stories do you
About that,
have?
yeah. This one I
Okay, okay.
think is 189, not exactly 200, but close to it.
And how many stories do you have in total?
Well, I know I've got about 2,500
Mm.
that
So
I've
you have
edited.
like
I've got others that I've not edited yet.
okay, okay. So for you to have such a busy schedule and also manage to write books on the side, you must have to have like developed good like discipline, a good writing habit. So what is your writing routine or your writing habit that makes you manage to do all of that?
Keep at it, okay? I, typically get up in the morning and go to the gym, and then when I get through with that, I come in and spend a couple hours writing, and, since I'm doing something every day on the internet, I try to keep at least a week or so ahead of that thing so that I don't, "Oh, I forgot to do something today." It's already set up and running, and, my wife thinks I spend entirely too much time doing this, so she just keeps saying, "Quit,
No, go ahead.
stop that."
She wants your attention. So
Yeah.
how many hours a day do you spend on this?
Well, I would probably say I would do 10 to 12 hours, not just on this, but on my other things as well. So that's easy to say. 12 hours is not a bad day.
12 hours on working on your job plus the writing?
Right. You know,
Okay. So
probably
12
split it.
hours of writing a day?
No, 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 of both, combination.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So you're coming on podcasts, you're signing books, you have your email address. Have you ever thought of like recording videos, reading something from a joke on like and posted it on TikTok to, I don't know, attract a younger audience?
I will have to admit I have never thought of that.
It's a
Yeah.
good idea.
I've never been on
Just
TikTok. I don't know TikTok. I'm not a big social media person. The fact that I'm on
yeah.
Facebook is, still something new to me.
Yeah, yeah, but that's yeah. I mean, because what's happening now is not sure if you've been following the news. Like Barnes and Noble opened, I don't know, like tens of new, or they announced the opening of tens of new stores now because people are reading again, and that's because of the power of TikTok or book talk that's driving, especially younger generation, to reading. So I was thinking of for you, since you have these like small stories or small jokes, it's a perfect format for small or short videos like reels on Instagram, even on Facebook or TikTok, of you just reading a joke or two just to attract the people to your book. So that's just
I love that idea. I really never thought of that. And like I said, I've never been on TikTok, so
yeah,
I don't know what all is involved.
yeah, yeah.
I appreciate the idea, and I will definitely give that some consideration.
You can even do it on Facebook. All you have to do is just put your camera horizontally, say the joke, and upload it. And that's it.
Okay. I'm learning something new every day.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad I inspired you. All right. What else? Okay. So, how many books do you see coming out of this series?
I'd be looking at 10 to 12 right off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
And then, once I get all the stories into books, what I'm thinking about doing is putting out some additional volumes with one volume just dedicated to kids and one volume just dedicated to, for example, aging, and one dedicated to marriage and, things of that nature with marriage jokes and kid jokes and religion jokes so that they have a topic for the book, not just some of everything.
This is great. So you're becoming like the chicken soup for the soul, but for humor.
Yeah.
It's chicken
You know,
soup for for the heart.
And then I have a bunch of people who have contributed, dozens and dozens of these things, and I could put out an issue just for Jim Smith's books, Jim Smith's story,
Mm,
so
mm.
there's a lot of possibilities there. And then when I get tired of that, I've got a couple books in my mind that I'd like to just write myself, Spent
Like
20
what?
years in Washington, and my experiences there would be a good topic for a book called Tales from the Swamp.
Well, I'm in the DC area, so I hear you. I live like outside of DC in Rockville, Maryland.
I was in Springfield, Virginia, so other side of town.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you think your future books will like analyzing the crazy life of the Beltway? Is that where like you're going with it?
No, not so much that as telling stories about my experiences as a government contractor. Some of
That's a
the
hot topic these days.
right, right, right.
And what's yeah, because now government contractors are in dire straits.
Well, the government employees are in pretty bad straits right now too.
Yeah, 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 that's true. So if you want to advise someone who wants to start a book and have the discipline that you have and actually make it to the end line, what would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I tell them is writing a book is just the start, okay? And
Okay.
I have worked with many writers. I know many writers. As a matter of fact, I'm in a couple of writing clubs. And what I see all the time is that once they get the book out, they think, okay, I'm done. That's all. But then the work is really just getting started because if you don't get out and market it, it's
Mm,
never going to go anyplace. And if you ask Amazon, they'll say the average book only sells 100 copies or 200 copies.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because the person who wrote it said, okay, I'm done. I wrote the book. I'm finished. But if you do that, it's not going to go anyplace. It's not going to, get a big audience. And that's unfortunate because there's a lot of stuff out there that really should have a good audience. They just have never
Yeah.
marketed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, there are a number of humor writers out there, right? David Sedaris and
Oh,
others.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite one that sort of inspired you to start this venture?
No, honestly, I don't. I like, some of everybody's stuff, okay? And, I've been very fortunate in that my readers have been sending me things that have kept me going on this thing because I certainly haven't been writing a daily thing for 30 years. The vast majority of what I've got are things that other people have sent in, and I've
Mm, mm.
adapted or edited and, modified to fit into the format. So it gives me a lot of raw material to work with. Each of the stories in there tells where it came from, who gave it to me, and when it actually first appeared.
I also like to ask anyone who comes here about what are they reading these days? What are you reading these days? A book
Well,
that you can't stop, can't put down, just because you have a lot of readers who listen to this show.
I have a couple of favorite authors, and Bernard Cornwell's one of them for
Which
historical.
one?
Bernard Cornwell, okay,
Okay.
who writes some fantastic historical material. And yes, it's fiction, but right now I'm going through the Archer series for about the third time over the last
Oh,
20 years.
okay.
And then another great favorite of mine was W.E.B. Griffin, who
Mm,
was writing military stories, the generals, the lieutenants, fantastic stuff. And I grew up in a military background with on military
mm,
bases, and he's got 20 or 30 books out. And I would love for him not to have died and the books to continue because I think I have his entire collection. So yeah,
mm.
I read a lot of that.
All right. So, how can listeners or viewers reach you? Or if they want to submit a story to you, how can they submit it? How do they get in touch? Where do they find your book? All of that.
Okay, well, the book is available, 20 Years of Internet Humor, and it's available on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. It's all the major bookstores and a lot of the independents too. Or they can reach me directly at bill@biagwilliams.com, okay, which
Mm-hmm.
is my personal website, or bill at 20 years, I'm sorry, 20 years of internet humor, all one long word, .com. And that tells what's going on and as it gives them a place to sign up and get the emails.
Do you accept all stories or do you reject some?
If No, I don't accept them all because some of them are, quite frankly, I can't even make socially acceptable.
What is your criteria for accepting these stories? If I want to submit something to you, what should I be paying attention to?
I would like for it to be interesting. I would
Okay.
like for
Define
it to
interesting.
defined interesting, could be humorous, it could be historical, it could be something that keeps my attention.
Okay. Okay.
It it can be as much as a paragraph or 2, and I've run a bunch of very, very short ones. It can be 3 or 4 or 5 pages, if it keeps my attention.
Okay.
I do not use stuff that, people send me things that they've found in a magazine or something that's copyrighted. I don't you do that don't use the copyrighted material
Okay.
unless I can get the copyright permission, and, yeah, I do check that. But any good writer has been rejected more than once.
Yeah.
And I've certainly got my own file of rejections,
Yeah.
but give it a shot. Doesn't cost anything. Then I'm not paying for them either. So, on the other hand, the fact that you can say you are a published author, here's a copy of the book that I'm in, that sort of thing. So people like that.
Yeah. It's a good incentive. So do you have any final words, piece of advice, anything for our viewers or listeners before we conclude?
No, I'd say, hey, send me something. The worst thing that can happen is I'll say thank you, but I can't use it. And that's something else again. With all of this stuff in here, I've got a great memory. Many of these things I've seen 20 or 30 times come to me because, hey, I saw
The
this.
same
Yep.
one?
The same story over and over and over again.
They keep sending it, hoping for you to change your mind?
No, no, not the same person, but many different people sending me the same story that they found on the internet.
Ah, that they found internet. Okay. Okay.
And
I see.
so
Yeah.
I keep a track of where they are, and if this looks familiar, I'll check my files. And if I've already run it, I'm not going to run it again.
I see. I see. Do when you get back to them, do you give them another chance to kinda fix what they send and send it back? Or do you give them feedback or no? Or you just
I would have to say that with the number I get, mostly I'll say thank you. If I can use it, I'll put it aside. And frankly, Natasha, I've still got some from 2005 that I haven't had a chance to run yet.
Oh, wow.
So
So
it's not like it's going to be appearing tomorrow, or it could be if it's very topical. It could be appearing, well, not tomorrow because that's already set up, but next week.
I guess people gotta have patience. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for the laugh. It was fun to laugh, and I know this is the whole point of your book is, through the harsh times and the hard, what a political climate. So whatever you're going through, it's always nice to laugh. And on that note, thank you everyone for joining us today for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. And until we meet again.